Let's go back to that price we started with yesterday. Taner Rabbanan, Kli Kodesh, sacred vessel, shenikva that got punctured. Ein matichas. We're going to see a whole number of things, whether it's the priestly garments or whether it's vessels. You can't fix them up. You got to either melt them all the way down and build them anew, but you cannot just fix them up. Clay kodesh shenikva ein matichas. So it says vessels that were holy, if they get punctured, you can't melt them. A small melt to fix it. Vein matichin l'sochen aver, and you can't melt lead inside of it to fix it. Nifkamu ein musaknin. If they get damaged, don't fix it up. Similarly, a knife, sucking has to be a smooth knife for the shchita. If it has any bumps in it, so you don't smoothen it out. If it slips out, the handle slips out, you don't put it back. The Abba Shaul said they had this knife that would cause a lot of trafos, meaning it had certain bumps on the knife. It wasn't so smooth, and then it wouldn't cut properly, and it would cause trafos when it cut the animals. So the Kohanim found it, they hid it away, so people should not use it. Similarly, Taner Rabbanan Big Day Kahuna, the priestly garments, Ein Osan Osan Ma'asen Machat. So there's sewing and then there's weaving. So they had to be weaved, woven. They cannot be sewed. So if something happens to them, Ein Osan Osan Ma'asen Machat, you don't go and sew it. Ela Ma'asen Orig. How do I know? Shneimar Ma'asen Orig, because it says it has to be weaved, woven, and not sewed. Nizgalu. Here comes. Let's see, Donna's here. Oh, I was hoping Donna would be here. Talks about laundry of the Kohanim. She wants to know about the laundry. So it tells you what not to do. It doesn't tell you what you have to do, but still close. So Nizgalu ein mechabsin lo beneser v'lo ohel. If they got dirty, you can't wash them. Not with lead, or not with ohel, another kind of detergent. Ohel, I don't know. Different kinds of detergents.
Niter is called niter.
Niter and okay. Yeah, different kinds of detergents. So it sounds like habamayim mechapsin, but with water you could wash it. No. If it just like touched water, just touch us a little bit, so then it's no problem. A small little thing that it has enough. If it has a little stain, Charles, we have no power, so we'll skip class.
Right.
Okay, so it says like this: if it has a small little stain that a little bit of water could remove it, then you could use the stronger detergent. The water is like a litmus test. How much? It's not saying you should wash with water. It means to say you have a little bit that even water could take it off. So then you could wash it with the stronger detergents. Spot cleaning, right? Who go and if it got a lot, very dirty. So then then you can't use water. Meaning, the point is, if it has a little bit of a stain, you can wash it. It's fine. A bigger stain, you can't wash it at all. The Yesh Omrim Ein Mechapsin Kol Liquor. Another opinion says never. You can never wash it. Now we're going to say a reason for washing, but it's going to apply to the vessels that were damaged as well. The Beis Hamikdash is she'ein aniyus b'makom ashiros, that you cannot have. Literally means any poverty in a place of wealth. Meaning you cannot just fix up and have these fixing up vessels in the Beis Hamikdash. It's a place of wealth. It's a very special place. So any signs of poverty, vessels that were fixed up, no secondhand stores. You can't buy the vessel from the secondhand store and go to the Beis Hamikdash. Clothing's the same way. Clothing that's been washed very well versus clothing that's new-ish. So you can't have it, clothing that's been with such strong detergent and use that in the Beis Hamikdash, because ein anius b'makom ashiros. can't have poverty in the place of wealth. So you have things that look like they belong to poorer people in the royal kingdom. The base of Mikdash. Now that we talked about the clothing of the Kohanim, so we're going to talk about the different things that they are made out of, and then what they atone for. Tanur Me'il, the coat, Kuluk Shel Techeles, was all made of this Techeles, a certain kind of blue. It was made, you have to make the Me'ila Ephod totally of Techeles. Shuli of Ketzad, it's Shuli like the bottom, the hems. Hems are the bottom? Okay. The hems, the bottom. What were the bottoms made out of? So they had the bells. So that's for the Kohen Gadol. Maybe Techeles, so Shuli of Ketzad. Maybe Techeles ve'argama metolah shani. You'd have these different kinds of the blue and the argama is purple, and then tolah shani is scarlet. Shazur and all weave together, all the different threads weave together. The osa osan kimin rimonim, and you'd make it the bottom of it like the shape of a pomegranate. Shelo pischu pion, that has not opened up yet. Ukimin konaos shel knasos sheberoshe tinokos. It would be like a cone of sorts, like that shape. Similar to what?
The children's head.
Yeah.
Helmet children's, like a children's head.
When they would fight with each other, I guess. This is good advice. You gotta wear a helmet, depends who you're fighting with, right? So older kids or the younger kids. So they would make these on the bottom, and then what would they do? Maybe shivim v'shnayim zogin shebehen. They would take 72. They would bring 72 bells, and then shivim v'shnayim inbelin. I think inbelin is the part that actually makes the noise.
72 clappers.
And you put it there inside this pomegranate. In the bell. See the pomegranate. Inside you have the bell. Inside the bell you have a clapper. Where's the clapper? In the bell. In the bell, yeah. Was it in the bell? In the pomegranate?
You had a pomegranate in the bell.
That's a debate. Let's look it up. Okay. Okay. So let's see. How would it work? You had 36. 36 on this side and 36 on this side. On that side, so you have 72 total. Rabbi Dosa Omer, not so fast. Mishum Rabbi Huda, Shloshim Shisha. Total. Here's your Hanukkah reference. You have 36 candles on Hanukkah, 36 hours at the special light and gracious lit, 36 Tractate Zevachim. Yeah. 36 Tzaddikim every generation. Okay. So where that's from, I'm not sure. But Mishum Rabbi Huda, Shloshim Shisha, that's what they tell you in school. Shloshim Shisha Hayu, it was 36 total. 18 and 18 on each side. So Machlokas, was it 72 total and 36 on each side? Was it 36 total and 18 on each side? Amar Rabbi Eineni Bar Sason. This Machlokas, Kan, Kach Machlokas B'Marus Negoim. The similar debate in terms of the amount of tzaras that we have. It's not Marus Negoim Rabbi Dosa Ben Urkanis Omer Lamed Vav. There are 36 different kinds of tzaras. The Kavi ben Mahal Omer Shivim Mishtayim. No, there's 72. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's for tonight's latte eating. Figure out what the connection is. So okay. Now, what the clothing atones for? Amar Rabbi Inyane Bar Sasa. Once you mention him over there, we're going to mention him over here too. The section of the korbanos is placed next to the section of the Big Day Kahuna. Why are they juxtaposed next to each other? Rashi points out, it says in Parsha Sav, second Parsha of Vayikra, Zos Torah Sa'ola, Zos Torah Sachatas, it says Va'asham V'zevach HaShlomim, and then right afterwards, Kachas Aaron V'es HaBegadim. Right away, take out you and your clothing, and then what the clothing is. So, what's the juxtaposition? Just like sacrifices atone, Af big de kahuna mechaprin. So too, the clothing of the kohanim also atone. What atones for what? So we're going to ask on the first one later on. Kitones, the coat, the tunic, yeah. Mechaperes al shvichas dam. It's going to atone for bloodshed. It doesn't mean someone can shoot someone dead, and the fact that the kohen is wearing the tunic, he's good. But we're going to see it has to do with the community. The community is held responsible for the murder. And we're going to talk about two different kinds of murder. One where the body is known, and one where it's unknown, which is really egla rufa. Kitonish mechaperes al shvichas dam. Shenamar. Well, last week. So the brothers slaughtered the goat, and they dipped it, they toiveled it into the blood. So that's a remez, that's a hint that that blood will be atoned for by the coat. Interesting connection also. Yeah. Michnasayim, the pants. Mechaper al gilui arayos. Those are going to mechaper. Those are going to atone for illicit relations. Shenamar v'oslam michnasei bad lechasus b'sar erva. That they made these pants for them to cover over that part of the body that's usually covered. So that's a hint towards that it's going to cover over, so to speak. It'll atone for illicit relations. Mitznefes mechaperes al gaser. This is really a gemara in Erech. Mitznefes. The hat they used to wear, mechaperes al gasei ruach, that would atone for people that are haughty. How do I know? Let the highest thing on the head atone for Mr. Haughty, who thinks he's so high up. Avnate, the belt, mechaper al hirur olev. The avnate, the belt, is going to go and atone for the hirur halev, the bad thoughts of the heart. Okay, why is that there? I think it was an ask. Maybe because the belt separates the heart from the bottom part of the body. It's interesting, right there where there's an ask. Okay. And come back tomorrow. No, so, Heicha de Isei Choshen, you have the breastplate. Mechaperes haladinim will atone for making the wrong judgment. Shenamar va'asisa Choshen mishpat. You're going to make the breastplate mishpat, justice. So it's going to atone for the one who didn't do justice. So ephod, the ephod, how to translate ephod, I think so. The ephod.
Ephod atones for idolatry.
Yeah, the ephod. I think it's a part on top of the breastplate, maybe. So that is mechaper al avodos kochavim. That atones for idol worship. Shenamar ein ephod v'trofim me'il. It says in Hosea, many days there was no king, there was no ruler, no sacrifices. The ein ephod v'trofim. And there was no ephod u'trofim. Trofim is referring to idols, right? We had by Rachel and the trofim. So the ephod is compared to the trofim. So the ephod atones for the trofim. I think the ephod goes on top of the Urim and Tumim. I think it goes on top of the breastplate. The apron. Yeah.
Because of the
so it's the apron that's worn, right? It's worn waist down. From the waist down is the ephod, and that's going to atone for idol worship. Okay. Me'il is the coat. Yeah. Me'il is the coat. Let's see the nice picture here. Oh, the robe where the breastplate was on and the apron was on, a nice robe. So the robe, Me'il mechaper lashon hara. That's going to atone for lashon hara. So bad speech. negative speech. Minayin. Amar B'chanina Yavadavar Shebekol v'Yechaper al Kol Hara. So let the thing which is noisy, meaning the end that's going to have the bells. So let that thing which is noisy come and atone for the noise, the voice of the person speaking negatively. Okay. Betzitz, tzitz is a thing on the forehead, right? That says Kodesh LaHashem. So tzitz mechaper al azus panim. That atones for brazenness, or in English, chutzpah. Yeah. So tzitz is mechaper on chutzpah. So how do I know? Betzitz ksiv hayal meitzach Aaron. It was on the forehead of Aaron. But azus panim siv who meitzach isha zona hayalacha. When they want to refer to someone in Yirmiyah as very brazen, he called them, you have like the forehead of a harlot, very brazen. So, okay. Now we're going to ask, is that really true? Two things that we find that are not atoned for by the sacrifices, they're atoned for in another fashion. What's that? That's referring to shvichas damim and lashon hara, bloodshed and lashon hara. How do I know? Shvichas damim and egla rufa. The whole process of egla rufa of the cat, you break the neck. That's all to atone for this. I have a lashon hara. Have a lashon. That's the ketores, the special incense that was brought. We're going to see. There's no one around when it was brought. It was brought hidden, quiet, mazel tov, and yeah. So. What are you telling me that the bloodshed and the lashon hara is atoned for by the garments worn by the Kohen Gadol? It's not true. It's atoned for by the egla rufa and by the ketores. How do I know? How do I know that it atones for? You place the ketores and the nation gets atoned for. Vitani the very small. Alma ketores mechaperes lashon hara. The ketores atones for what? For lashon hara. Let someone which is quiet. The ketores is quiet. No one else is around. It's brought hidden, private. Is a better word. It's brought privately. And let it atone for the ma'aseh chashoy, the lashon hara that's also spoken quietly. So what's the answer? Is it egla rufa and ketores, or is it the clothing of the Kohen Gadol? So kasha lashon hara, kasha shvichas damim, shvichas damim. Says Gemara lo kasha hadi yediya man katle, hadi lo yediya man katle. Depends. If you don't know who killed the person, then the community is responsible, and that's the egla rufa. If you do know who killed somebody, so here Rashi speaks out that the community needs atonement. So no such thing as, well, I didn't do it, he did it. Doesn't work that way. Everyone needs atonement. If somebody killed somebody, they need atonement. Yeah. Idia man katle bar katalu. Doesn't matter. Hold on. If you know who killed the guy, so then you're going to kill him. That'll take care of it. Once he gets killed, then it sounds like we won't get punished anymore. You take care of justice. You took care of justice. Says you're right. In general, you're right. If we kill him, we're good. But what about the Mazin Villa Osterbeg? He did it advertently, and there was no warning. There's no warning, there's no death. So in that case, the community bears responsibility, and therefore they need atonement by the Kohen Gadol wearing the ketonis. What does he himself get? So Rashi says one of the 7 things, different opinions, of tzaras. One of them is killing somebody. The guy himself that does it b'mezil advertently, and no witnesses, sounds like he will get tzaras. Maybe more than that also, but at least tzaras. Okay. The lashon hara nami lo kasha. Lashon hara is the ketores, or is it the clothing of the Kohen Gadol? It says depends. Habetzina, habefarhesia. The ketores, which is brought privately, atones to lashon hara that's said privately, and then there's bifarhesia, the bells, the what do you call it? The robe of the Kohen Gadol, which has the bells on the bottom, which is noisy, will atone for lashon hara, which is noisy. Very fascinating. Take one prohibition, lashon hara, and you're splitting it. Lashon hara in private, lashon hara in public. You could have said it just two of the same, two applications of the same Avera, but we see here they need two totally separate atonements. One is Ketores and one is that. Sounds like they're categorically different. Lashon hara between you, in private is one thing. In public, it's much worse. Okay. Hajach Allah, Hamizbach, Mekadesh. Here we go. Kol hatadir mechavero, kodem es chavero. Anything which is more frequent comes first. Now we're going to talk about sacrifices. However, for example, your talis and tefillin every morning. So one reason why you put your talis first, not the only reason, is because talis is more frequent. You wear it more frequently. Furthermore, I believe this Shabbos we're going to lay 3 times from 3 Sifrei Torah. And what we're going to lay first, not Hanukkah, it's Rosh Chodesh. It's more tadir. You're lighting candles and it's time for Mariv. What should you do? Well, which one's more frequent? Hopefully the answer is Mariv. So Mariv is more frequent. So this applies everywhere. This is a rule you take with you in every situation in life. Kol, and this is going to be the source of it. Kol hatadir mechavero, kodem es chavero. So you do the more frequent one first. So now, hatamidim kodem lemusafin, the tamidim, the daily sacrifices, the ones that brought every morning, every night, those come before the musafin, before the extra offerings that are brought on the holidays. Musafin Shabbos, kodem lemusafin Rosh Chodesh. The sacrifices of Shabbos, the musaf sacrifices. Our musaf is patterned after the fact that they had an extra sacrifice on Shabbos. Kodem le Musar Rosh Chodesh, because it's more frequent. Musafir Rosh Chodesh, Kodem le Musafir Rosh Hashanah. The Musafir Rosh Chodesh come before the Musafir of Rosh Hashanah. And why choose Rosh Hashanah out of all the holidays? That's funny. Shinemar. It says not by Rosh Hashanah. It's because Pesach, I believe. You have to bring. What do you bring? Milvad olas haboker, asher olas hatamid tasu es ela. So aside from the ola you bring first, meaning that's the first thing you bring is the olas haboker, the one that's brought every morning. So you see, why is it brought first? So Tosis really asked, the reason why it's brought first is the pasuk said it has to be the first thing that's brought. That's their question. Good questions. But here we're proving that you have to bring that first because that's more frequent, and then you could bring things afterwards which are less frequent. So now, Minalan, how do I know that which is more frequent comes first? What do you mean Minalan? We just told you. Minalan kidikamar taima. We just told you. Milvado lasa boker asher tasu es ela. So that's how you know. So we say, so it says no, not so fast. If you only had that, Dilma, Tamidin Hain the Kadmul Musafin, Mishum de Tadiri, you would have thought that this is unique by the daily continuous sacrifices, because they're always brought. They're like super consistent. So you would have thought maybe only something of that stature gets precedence. But whenever you have two situations, just because one happens to be more frequent than the other, who says that would come first? So, so Hain the Dilma to me than Hain the Kadmul Musafim Mishum de Tadiri, but Musafim min Allah. How would you know that two Musaf offerings, one goes before the other because it's more frequent? Rabbi Dovid Gleizer, Kollel, yeah. Famously, yeah, I'm sure there's every Daf Yomi in the world is there's got to be a fancy video on this. There's got to be, yeah. It's like a guy. When I speak, just the guy goes into someone's house, right? And he's trying to find the owner of the house to rob him, so he can't find him. He has a gun. He doesn't know where he is. So he says, and the guy responds, Kollel. And he finds him. Yeah. Yeah. Where everyone's sleeping on the airplane and they start leaning, everyone's sleeping and they get to this place and everyone wakes up. Kollel goes back to bed. Yeah. So, okay. So, so it says, Kollel, you should do like these. Eila ka'ela. These musafin should be like those. These offerings should be like those. How should they be like those? Just like those are more frequent and therefore get precedence, these are more when these are more frequent, they will get precedence as well. Says the Gemara, the word ka'ela hami ba'ilei legufei, you need it for itself. In Cain, you need it for itself to teach you that you just bring these sacrifices. I think we're talking about Pesach. Yeah, you have to know that you just have to bring these. You have to bring these sacrifices. Hami ba'ilei legufei. In Cain, nichtav ela tasu layom. So just say that you're going to bring these. So what's ka'ela? Just say ela. What's ka'ela? So ikas of ela tasu layom shivas yamim havamina ela shivas yamim. You would have thought there's 7 lamb sacrifices brought on the first day, Pesach. So you would have thought ka'ela is going to tell you that if you just had ela, it would mean take the 7 and spread them out. Not that you bring 7 each day. So ka'ela will tell you bring 7 each day. Havamina ela l'shivas yamim. So that's what you need ka'ela for, and therefore it's not available for us. To teach you bring 7 each day of Pesach, not just the first day. Okay, so because of ela tasuliyom shivas yom havamina ela l'shivas yamim. Okay, so but then we say layom. Okay, but it says layom. What's layom ksiv? Maybe layom is extra. Maybe these are only brought on that day, but the rest of the days, you wouldn't bring all 7. I wouldn't know how many to bring. It says ta'asu. You should do. You should do all the doings. It should be the same every day. You bring 7 sacrifices, and therefore you learn that already from ta'asu. And ka'ela is available to teach you that these will be like those, that just like when those are, they're the first ones because they're more frequent, these, when they're more frequent, will also take precedence. Abaye Amar Megupe Dekra. Abaye says that, like really our Mishnah says, Milvad Olasa Boker Shel Olasa Tamid. Abaye says, no, like from the Mishnah, the fact that Milvad Olasa Tamid, since you see from the Pasuk, that the first one you bring is the morning sacrifice. Why? Because it's more frequent. That's it. Im kain lema kra milvad olasa boker v'tishto. Just say you should bring it aside from the morning offering. Why does it say asher la'olas hatamid, which is the tamid offering? Asher la'olas hatamid lamali lemeimar dehach t'kadiri tiktom. So if you wanted just to teach me that you bring this aside from the morning offering, you should have said that. But instead you said you bring this aside from the morning offering, which is the continual tamid offering. Why'd you add that? To teach you that the reason why it comes first is because it is more frequent. To teach you that the more frequent ones come first. Okay. Now, speaking of taking precedence, the holier one comes first. Whatever's holier will come first. So, let's say you have dam chatas and you have dam ola, and you have to throw one of them up, apply one of them. What do? Dam chatas wins. Dam ola. It takes precedence. It has one up on the ola because it atones. However, a vari ola, the limbs of the ola, and the sacrificial parts of the chatas, the avari ola come first. The limbs of the ola come first. Because that gets fully consumed. That's apparently that's a reflection of an added level of kedusha, the fact that it gets fully consumed. Leishim, no, yeah, they all get fully consumed. Chatas kodemes la'asham, the sin offering precedes the guilt offering. Because the chatas is applied on 4 corners. Ve'ala yisod, and on the base of the altar. Asham kodem l'toda, the guilt offering comes before the toda offering, before the thanks offering. The el nazir, and before the offering of the nazir. Because it's a high level. This is simple. It's a high level of sanctity, and those that are kachim kalim that are a lower level of sanctity. Toda, the el nazir, the thanks offering, and the nazir offering that's brought at the end of his Nazirus service process. Yeah, what comes first? So the Toda and the Nazir offering come before the Shlomim. Mipnei shehein ne'achalim liyom echad. V'te'un and lechem. There only have 1 day to eat. Shlomim has 2 days to eat. And you bring bread with them. You see, it's a higher level of sanctity. Hashlomim kodmin lebechor. The peace offerings come before the bechor. Why? Mipnei shehu te'un and matan arba. Because the shalom needs to have 4 applications. The bechor only has 1. This smicha, and it has smicha, have to lean on it. And nisnachim and libations and knufa. You have to shake the chaza and the shok, the thigh and the chest. Ha-bechor kodin l'maiser. Bechor comes before the maiser, the 10th animal. Its holiness is from the womb. That's what you say on like these tzaddikim that are born, that are holy from the get-go. They say that kadosh mirechem, holy from the womb. So v'nechal kohanim, and they get to eat it. The kohanim get to, and the kohanim eat it. Ha-maiser kodin la'ofos. The maiser comes before the ofos, the birds. It's an animal. Animal comes before the birds. V'yesh v'kachar kadashim. And it has a high level of sanctity. Damo ve'emura of ha'ofos kodin lemenachos. The blood and the sacrificial parts of the birds come before the flour offerings. Mipnei shehein minei damim. Because this has blood to it, types of blood, versus flour offering doesn't have that. Rashi says because it has the blood, it has a higher level of atonement. Okay. Minchas choteh kodem leminchas nedava. You have a flour offering of a sinner and a flour offering as a voluntary offering. The sinner's flour offering comes first. Because it atones for. Things that atone for come first. Chatas ha'of kodemes la'olah. The chatas of the oath, a sin offering of a bird sin offering, comes before the ola, la'olah sa'of, b'chein behegdesha. It comes before the ola oath offering, b'chein behegdesha. Yeah. So too, when you have the 2 birds and you're sanctifying them, so you first sanctify the chatas ha'of, the sin one, and then you sanctify the other one to be an ola. Minahani mili, that these things is true that the blood of the chatas comes before the blood of the ola, and that the limbs of the ola come before the sacrificial parts of the chatas. The Tana Rabbanan, it says upar sheni ben bakar tikach lechatos. It says that you're taking when it comes to the altar, they were inaugurating the altar. So in it's the Parshas Baloska. So it says upar sheni ben bakar tikach lechatos. So now what's it teaching me? Taking a second bull to be your chatos. So in balolame change shnayim harei karnamar says echad chatos has echad ola. If you want to tell me that there's 2 of them, you told me that already. So why you tell me par sheni? Ma tamalomar upar sheni ben bakar tikach lechatos. That you should take the second bull as a chatos. You would have thought that a chatos comes before anything to do with an ola. Talmud lomar upar sheni ben bakar tikach lechatos. That no, the second bull should be a chatos. So it sounds like the first one's going to be a ola. Ipar sheni yachol te ola. Ipar sheni yachol te ola. Kodemas lechatos lekol maseha. If an ola comes before a chatos in terms of offering the sacrifices, so then you would have thought that it always comes first. First you do the chatas, then you do the ola. So you have a contradiction. On the one hand, it says the first bull is an ola, the second bull is a chatas. On the other hand, it says you should do a chatas first and then an ola. So which one comes first? Ha-ketzad. Like this. Dam chatas, kodem dam ola. The actual putting the blood on. There the chatas comes first before the ola. And that's what it says. First to do the chatas and then the ola. Why? Because it's going to atone. Because it's going to atone. Interesting. this chatas on the inauguration of the Levium, it atones for, or just brought as inauguration? Yeah, I don't know. Oh, okay, that's the question. Yeah, okay, fine. Because it atones for. Tosa just answers very quickly that it's not that this offering did not atone, it's the inauguration offering. But in general, a chatas atones. So that category comes first. Fine. And a vare ola, the avarim of the ola, will come before the ones of the chatas, the limbs of the chatas, because it's fully consumed. Because it's fully consumed. Okay. So says the Gemara. The Ema changes. Yeah, the Ema, not the Ema matana kamaisa de mechapra tiktum. Maybe the hanachlo. Oh, here they do have one. Meaning, why does the one that atones come first? Oh, and only this takes precedence over other things because it atones, but nothing else takes precedence. Other things also take precedence. Not just this one case of the chatas and the ola. Ravina haka b'chatas alvia skinan. The alpha gaf the chiola dummy. Kamarachmana he ticked them. Even though, okay, this is what we're talking about. Even though that this chatas is not atoning because it's brought by the Levium to inaugurate by the altar. However, it's coming to teach you that that it'll still come first. To teach you, what that other places also it comes first.
No, that kind of something was similar to all our offering that was not Protestant, and nevertheless it should take precedence over the other offering, which kind of something generally provided.
What was the question? Why should
it take precedence? Why should the fact to take precedence? It
doesn't atone. Let's see for 1 second. Oh, sorry. The question is, the mai, meaning you have 4 blood applications. Why are all 4 blood applications come before? The first one, you put your atonement. Mai, matana kamaisa de mechapro, take the mahanachlo. Let the first blood application be for chatas. And that's it. Why do all 4 come first? Rabina haka b'chatas halavim askinan. We're talking about the chatas of the Levium. It brought to inaugurate the altar, and therefore, it's like an ola. It doesn't atone. And yet, Kamarachmana, he ticked them. And it just look them first. It just look them first, even though it doesn't atone, but still, it's going to come first because in general, a chatas comes before an ola. So, yeah. Okay. The Ma'arava Amri Hova Hiskil b'Matanas Gomer. Another answer that they said in Eretz Yisrael was, once you started with the mitzvah, then you finish the mitzvah. Once you started to finish it, once you started the blood applications of the chatas, even though the first one got your atonement, finish off the next 3. It's interesting. You can ask, each one of the applications is a separate mitzvah, or it's one long mitzvah. So from here, it sounds like once you start with the mitzvah, finish mitzvah, it's one package. It's 4 applications. You know, the first one gets you atonement, but you don't split it like that. Okay. Have a great day.
Yashkoach.